Yeah.
So welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We're just talking a little bit as we're getting going here about how we are doing our Badgers notes today as far as Badgers basketball goes. So we have 4 games to talk about with the Badger basketball team with the Big Ten tournament. So what we're going to do is we're going to each have 2 takeaways per game, and then we're going to talk about our position groups like we normally do just as a whole for the entirety of the Big Ten tournament. And then Jake and I have a handful of Bucks games, so we're going to hit the intro and get started.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so like I said, 4 Badger games in the last week, all coming in the Big Ten tournament. They beat Northwestern, they beat UCLA, they beat Michigan State, and they lost to Michigan in the championship. So we're going to start with the Northwestern game. Mike, what were your 2 takeaways or your main takeaways from the Northwestern game?
Yeah, I guess first off, welcome to March Madness officially, boys. It's my favorite time of the year. I think it's better than Christmas. Yes, I do believe that. I know it's a hot take for some people, but this is my favorite time of the year. Conference tournaments are awesome. We got March Madness starting tomorrow, the good kind, or not the playing games anymore. So I'm glad we're here. Anyway, first couple takeaways. Number one. I talked about it a lot with how much we missed Max Klesmit. My first takeaway is Klesmit's presence is vital for this team. Not even a score, just the fact that he's out there creating the scoring threat. Doesn't necessarily score a lot, but he creates that threat to bring that extra defender out to like the 3-point line, for example, just to maybe create open space. And he's the main facilitator of this team as well. So the fact that he's out there just creating that threat, I think this team looks way, way different now that he's back full time. That was number one. Number two, I thought the Badgers did a really good job on their defensively at Nick Martinelli. This was a kid who was coming in averaging over 20 a game, and they held him to 15 points on 18 shots. So, it was a gritty game. We knew this going against Northwestern. It was going to be if you can make that dude's life a living hell, there's a good chance we're going to win that game. Whether it's we score 90 or if we only score 70, we're going to have a good chance. And we muddied that up quite a bit. And we got the dub.
Yeah, I'll just jump in right on the defense right away. The Badgers' defense, especially in the second half, just nails on the defensive side of the ball. Northwestern only scored 33 points in the second half, 7 of which came in the final 2 minutes when Wisconsin was kind of just conceding shots to not foul. So essentially 18 minutes, they scored 26 points.
Woof.
That's tough defense. Mm-hmm. And speaking of tough, my other takeaway from this game was John Tonje himself. For him to score 18 points quietly is impressive. He scored them in spurts, like the end of the first half, the way that he closed the first half to get a huge dunk, get to the free throw line, and hit a nasty fadeaway mid-range shot to beat the buzzer, all while playing great on-ball defense, was fantastic way for John Tonje to end the half. So those were my 2 biggest takeaways from the Northwestern game.
Yeah, so I got a couple. I got one little extra tidbit for you guys. 70 points that the Badgers scored versus Northwestern was the lowest point total in a win this year. So that's insanity. You have to score at least 70 to beat us, and most of the time it's 80. My first takeaway was they held Northwestern to 37% from the field. That's the second lowest field goal percentage of any Big Ten team this year that the Badgers have held them to. Nebraska was the lowest at 33.9. So absolutely putting the clamps down. I love that we're all focusing on defense as we get into March Madness. This was the kind of game that the Badgers needed to come out with after that Penn State loss, right? They needed to come out ultra-focused and looking to cut some shit off, cut the water off. My second takeaway is Nolan Winter led the team with a plus 22. Plus minus can be a very controversial stat for some people, but I think in this game it was very telling. Nolan Winter absolutely dominated. Like I said, plus 22. He was ultra aggressive and he showed everything in the bag. He attacked off the dribble. He hit a 3. And when he was attacking, he drew 7 fouls and shot a season high 10 free throws and made 10 of them. He grabbed some offensive rebounds, and like I said, he put the ball on the floor. So he was absolutely fantastic in this one. By far the best player on the floor, in my opinion, in this game.
Yeah, you brought up the loss to Penn State and then playing this game. Do you guys feel that the Badgers would have been as prepared for UCLA had they not beaten Northwestern to kind of get the Penn State loss out of the bad taste out of the mouth?
So that's a really good question, right? Because you get the Penn State win, you're obviously thinking ahead, oh, playing Friday, double bye, wait and see mode. I guess the benefit of having that 5 seed is because you do have one game, you are warmed up. You got a team, the UCLA, that's literally flying across country from LA to Indy, whereas we're not. We're flying 300 miles. Maybe they got a little bit of jet lag, but that is kind of a benefit that you have, at least in the early stages of the conference tournament anyway. You do have that warm. Your legs are a bit warm. You're ready to go. Um, that is tough to answer though, at the end of the day, because would I want that Penn State win going into this tournament? Absolutely.
I was thinking more like if they still had the loss to Penn State and if USC would have pulled the upset and the Badgers still would have gotten the 4 seed.
Gotcha. My bad.
So if they still would have lost to Penn State and then still kind of backed into the double bye.
No, I think they needed the Northwestern game. I think it was good for them to get out there, especially for a guy like Max Klesmit to be back, to play some tough defense, compete against a guy like Martinelli. I mean, I think this was a necessity. Now, it doesn't end up being a necessity later on,
right?
Obviously. But for the moment, getting this team confidence to come out against UCLA, I think it was the right thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when we get to the Michigan game, if you take away the Northwestern game, you don't get to just shift the other 3 games up one spot and be like, oh, well, Tanjay had 32 in, this game. You don't get to just shift it up a game.
Yeah.
It's a collective. So, Jake, let's jump to the UCLA game. What were your takeaways from that one?
Yeah, so the Northwestern game was obviously a grind. Scoring didn't come easy against Northwestern, so I love that they started fast. They were ultra aggressive, hitting threes right away. And it wasn't that they were just hitting threes and aggressive on offense. I love that they were aggressive on defense, playing physical on that end of the floor. People will remember all the three-pointers that were shot and made in this game because they literally set a record. But I love that they played inside out. I thought they did a fantastic job moving the ball, did a nice job keeping Crowell involved, keeping all the post guys involved. Crowell, I felt like was really impressive with his feel for the game. This, to me, when I watched it, and Tyler, we talk all the time about Bobby Portis, who's a very polarizing player on the Bucks, about letting the game come to him. I felt like this was the best game this year with Crowell letting the game come to him and not forcing shots, and also, not in attack mode. He played it perfectly, I thought. He did make he made back-to-back layups in the middle of the first half, and it was just like in between all the three-pointers, Crowell was still dominating down low, and I loved it because that first UCLA game, that tall, dorky kid for UCLA just dominated after he was averaging, a booger and a rebound a game, and it was like, dude, what? Who is this guy coming out of nowhere? And then all of a sudden becomes a household name. And hey, we love Bobby Portis over here. I got some things to say about him today, Justin. So stick around for that. But I thought that this was Crowell's best game of the year, just off of feel. So I love that for him.
So looking at it, you mentioned the hot start on the 3-point line. The Badgers started 7 for 8 and 10 for 15. The Johns, Blackwell, and Tanjay started 6 for 6 combined.
Yeah, they were.
Tanjay was one of my biggest takeaways. He was electric. He finished 9 for 10 from the field, and the only one that he missed, he came while he was trying to draw a foul.
Mm-hmm.
That was his only miss. So if he had gotten the foul call that he was looking for, he wouldn't have missed a single field goal. 6 for 6 on the 3-point line, added 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal, only 1 turnover. Might be his best game of the season when you factor in the efficiency. Obviously, the Arizona game was fantastic. Going to get to another one in just a second, but when you factor in that he was 9 for 9 from the field at one point and 6 for 6 from the 3-point line, it's plus 9 rebounds and 4 assists. Just the ball movement on the team in general was great. And 12 assists on 16 field goals in the first half, 22 assists on 30 field goals total. That's much better ball movement over the last couple of games. Then my other big takeaway, you mentioned the big dorky kid from UCLA. That is Mara. And I think he had like 18 points against the Badgers when UCLA beat the Badgers earlier this year. And this was my challenge to Greg Gard last week, was to find a new way to defend big men that are kind of taking over the game. And they did that in this game, and they did this in the upcoming games as well, forcing those big men to catch the ball closer to the 3-point line than to the paint. That was a big deal. Mark was turning, and he was realizing he was 15, 16 feet away from the basket instead of 5 or 6. So that was a big deal. My challenge to Greg Gard was answered in this UCLA game, especially. Connor said this was one of the most exciting games that I'd seen in a while. The insane 3-point shooting. It was super fun to watch. Super fun to watch.
It was wild, man.
Another one went up. It was bang, bang, just going crazy. A lot of fun to watch. Mike, what were your takeaways?
Yeah. Who's the ABC announcer that says bang, bang?
Green.
Yeah. I thought of him the whole time, like every 3 that we were shooting.
Yeah. Hopefully bigger games to come this year. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. No, you guys basically hit my 2 points. My first takeaway. You get a 3, you get a 3, you get a 3, you get a 3. That's literally how I wrote it out. You hit it on the 2 Johns. Kamari McGee had a game. I mean, we could go down the line, right? Xavier Amos had a couple 3s as well.
Yeah,
outstanding shooting performance. I've never seen anything like it. Obviously, it's a Big Ten record for a reason. I think that's right. We did hit 20 plus 3s against Iowa, but this is gut check time. And this is gut check time, right, in a conference tournament. So I think that speaks volumes too. And this is ultimately a game that the Badgers needed, in my view, just for, I said it, I think, in our chat, we're trying to right some wrongs, basically, right, in this stretch, beating UCLA. We're going to talk about the other 2 games too, but this is one of those games on our quest, I guess you could say, so to speak. And they answered the call, and man, that was special to watch. And my second takeaway, again, you guys mentioned the Mara thing. I just said UCLA's bench wasn't as much of a factor as it was last game. So we're all on the same page there. Jake, you made a great point about Stephen Crowell playing an outstanding game. Tyler, you obviously touched base on it now too, but I think it speaks volumes, because if it wasn't for that tall ogre and the last time we played him, we definitely would have won that game.
All right, Mike, I'll let you go first then on the Michigan State game.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
No, take number 1. I put down senior leadership, and when I say seniors, I'm talking, what I'm going to say. I'm going to say John Tonje, goddamn, right? I'll let one of you two probably go about the stats on that. But I said senior leadership because the other guy that needs to get brought up is Carter Gilmore.
Yeah.
The dude played his ass off in this game. Coming into this game, prior, he likes to take a couple 3-point shots now here and there, and the previous 2 specifically against, UCLA and Northwestern, and it wasn't necessarily his great night shooting. He comes in and hits 2 big-time 3s in this game for Wisconsin. And the cool thing was, he mentioned after the game, after the Michigan State game, he did mention he went to a local YMCA and got some extra shots up after the UCLA game specifically, just so he can prep a little more. So I thought that was a really cool story to share here. But no, I put senior leadership down. Experience came in the clutch in the end. Even forgetting the offensive stuff that they did, both of them had outstanding defensive plays at the end. Carter Gilmore, obviously, with the block. I think that was that Richard? I forget who shot that for Michigan State at the top of the key. If it was Richardson or Fears, maybe. I got to think. That's besides the point. But no, and then you obviously got John Tonje, who the one little mistake that he made, right, was to miss both those free throws at the end. But again, that goes without saying, outstanding game prior to that. But then he comes up, makes up for it with his defense.
Yeah.
End of the day, he wrote it wrong, and we're moving on to the next day.
Yeah, that was one of the first takeaways that I had written down, was officiating, to get one really wrong and to get one really right. The John Blackwell, the referee was standing in bounds when the ball hit him. The refs are part of the court, so that's play on. That's something that everybody should know from the high school level on. Now, Blackwell goes and he kind of dribbled a little bit nonchalant, in my opinion, when he first grabbed the ball, kind of like he was waiting for a whistle, and his shot gets blocked, right? And you see the replay, and they're like, oh my gosh, that should be a goaltend. There should be a goaltend. They should review that. So they can't review it if it's not called a goaltend. So in that situation, I would like to see the college officiating call it a goaltend, whether you think it is or not, just so you have the opportunity to review it and get the call right. It's like the NFL this last year and a half to 2 years, they decided they were going to essentially call everything that was close a touchdown because all scoring plays are reviewed. Same with turnovers, like all turnovers are reviewed. So just call it what it might be to guarantee the review so that you can make certain that you get the call right. So in my mind, when John Blackwell goes up for that layup, whether you think it's a block or not, whether you think it's a goaltend or not, just call it a goaltend so you go get the call right. Mm-hmm. And then late in the game, having the no call on Tanjay is a great no call. All ball on the end shot. You just have the wherewithal to be targeting the ball and not watching the player in that moment. Right after missing 2 free throws, like you said, so he goes 12 of 14 from the free throw line was my other takeaway with John Tanjay. The only 2 that he missed were the last 2 to leave the Badgers up by 3, and to not hang his head, throw his head back, and jog back on defense, but to lock right back in and knock the ball away, to not even let them get a game-winning shot off is fantastic. Cody, I'm going to get to that in just a second. The last thing I'm going to say, and the thing they have to do with that, Brad, it's not even like a three-pointer where they look see if somebody's toe is on the line. They just can't review it if it's not called a goaltend.
Yeah.
Yep.
The last thing I was going to say on Tanjay, he is the first player with 3 30-point games versus top 10 teams since Kemba Walker in the 2010-2011 season. He had 41 against Arizona, 32 against Purdue, and 32 against Michigan State. All were top 10 teams when the Badgers played them. So, yes, Connor JT is absolutely a dog. And, more to say about him in just a minute. So, Jake, what were your takeaways from Michigan State?
Yeah, so first and foremost, this was the hardest defense that I've seen all 5 players play at one time. They were elite on the box outs. First game versus Michigan State, we kind of got whooped up a little bit on the offensive boards, especially by one Kohler, Michigan State big, who ended up making a 3-pointer in this game, which just left me dumbfounded, but that's a story for a different day. I don't care if he was wide open. That guy doesn't look like he shoots threes. And, of course, he made it, and I was just like, oh, Jesus, Lord. But anyways, I was like, wow. I was so happy with everybody's effort on defense. Even the guards were boxing out, and they were cleaning the glass, finishing defensive possessions. This is the type of game where you walk away from it, especially, back-to-back with a UCLA game where they go absolutely bonkers from the three-point line. Then they play great defense, and they box out versus Michigan State. They deal with that fast break. They don't give up too many second chance points, and they get to the free throw line efficiently. It's just like, wow. This team could definitely win the title. And the last thing, and I kept this last on purpose, Carter Gilmore was, and will always be a gamer. That guy is a goddamn gamer. When he puts his jersey on and ties his shoes, he's the type of player that just infuses energy into everybody else, and I love that guy so much. And I was just telling Tyler, also the block was on Trey Holloman.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
I looked it up because I wanted to be sure. I didn't want to say a name. I knew it was number 5. I forgot. I knew his last name was Holloman. I forgot the first name. But I said this to Tyler that I wrote it down in my notes because I was taking my notes immediately after the game, so my thoughts were fresh in my mind. And then I listened to the radio yesterday, and they said the same player comp, and I was like, oh, my God, dude. Why am I just doing this on my laptop? I should be on the radio right now. But I compared him. I said he is this team's Douye Dukin.
Oh, okay.
Shot maker, not the star of the team, but he can become the third scorer at times. And I was like, ooh, I feel pretty smart with the Douye Dukin kind of comp, dude. Post player, He has the dark hair. I mean, they kind of have the same hair flow too. I mean, everything kind of works.
They both have armbands, right?
Yeah,
they do both have armbands.
Dewey Duquesne would shoot a little bit more mid range, whereas Carter's shooting a little bit more threes. Although I don't remember which game it was. I think it was the UCLA game that Carter Gilmore had late in the shot clock. He drove and did a spin move into the middle of the lane and hit a mid range, and it was like, okay, Carter Gilmore, get us started. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
might have even been the Northwestern game.
He was a hooper this day against Michigan State.
Yeah, I think
that was Michigan State actually.
They were off to a slow start offensively.
That play you're talking about, Todd, I want to say that was Michigan State.
It might have been because he only made one shot versus UCLA. He was 1 for 3. If that was,
it was right in the beginning. It was right in the beginning, I believe.
Yeah, it was like our first bucket.
Yeah, I think that was Sparty actually. But I mean, it's great.
Either way, it was a tough bucket, especially for a dude like Carter Gilmore to go and get a turnaround fadeaway mid range off the dribble as the shot clock's expiring. Connor said a confident Gilmore is dangerous. Very interested to see what a confident Gilmore looks like in the tournament, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But let's go to the Michigan game. Jake, what stood to you from Michigan on Sunday?
Yeah, so I took the first obvious one, and the legs were just dead. They were just absolutely fried. Fourth game in 4 days, and I swear on everything. If I see one more person be like, why can't they shoot? They can't hit the broadside of a barn. Okay, listen. How about you get your lazy ass off the couch and you go play 4 basketball games in 4 days? I guarantee you in the first game you're not shooting as good as these guys.
30-plus minutes, too, per game.
Yeah. Get out of here with that. You're not doing that. All the physicality, all the running into people, cutting, going to the rim, falling to the ground, running back and forth. I mean, you're not doing all that. So let's just stop with that shit, okay? I'm sick and tired of it. Secondly, this is the thing that I took away from it. I would love if Winter came back next year with a little bit more of a post game. I thought there was some opportunities, and he did try to post up a little bit. I would like us to dump it down to him sometimes. I understand that he's got the elusiveness. He can put the ball on the floor. He's got all that. I love that. But that should be just another notch on his tool belt. I would love for him to have a little bit of a post fade coming into next year. I think he could be really dangerous with a post fade. He has good touch. He's a good free throw shooter, good three-point shooter. He has good form. Just give me a nice little post fade and then an up and under move. Dangerous. Then you start creeping in, and Tyler and I were talking about this on Xbox this weekend. Then you start creeping into 44 territory because he's got the length and he's got the touch. That's the next step.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, looking at the Michigan game, I want to again call to what I said after the UCLA game about Greg Gard answering my challenge of defending big men. And against Michigan, they have 2 big-ass 7-footers.
Yeah, they're both good. And
I think the Badgers did a pretty solid job of, again, forcing them to catch closer to the three-point line, but also sending double teams, triple teams at their big men. And then when they do get post-ups, just the whole defense just sucking in, making it hard to get good looks for those big men. So I did like what the Badgers did against UCLA and Michigan's big men. I will say I was not expecting a 59-53 final, but Jake brought up the 4 games in 4 days, and I understand that the Badgers did not shoot the 3-ball well. Now, this is my biggest thing, is because obviously we know that the season doesn't end on this day, and they're going to be playing in the tournament, and if they win, they're going to play 2 days later. My biggest thing, and Greg Gard talked about this, is that they were getting good looks at the 3-point shots that they were taking. That was my biggest thing. Not to mention that early in the game, they were 2 or 3 of them that were like rattled halfway down and bounced out. Brennan brought up the Michigan ran the Wolf Golden ball screen action nonstop in the regular season matchup, and I don't recall seeing much of it on Sunday. I think you're right.
Until the second half, I would say
have the ball
they did a little bit.
As much didn't feel like.
Well, it helped that Wolf was in foul trouble, so that probably helped.
That's fair. But But those are my two big things. They were generating great looks at the 3-point line, so I'm not mad that they kept shooting them. Like, nobody's going to not shoot the ball when they're wide open.
I mean,
like, and again, they're in the tournament. Nobody's playing 4 games in 4 days. Like, it is what it is as far as that goes. Brennan said they killed them in Madison with it, but agreed on the foul trouble. Yeah, and we'll see. Still got the tournament to go. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Mike, give me your last takeaways from the Michigan game.
Yeah, basically, it's a lot of what you guys talked about. Jake stating the obvious. We were just gassed at the end of the day, but I think we did an outstanding job guarding both of those big men at the end of the day. What I think Vlad was held to like 11 on 4. What did I see? 4 of 12. Yeah, 4 of 12 shooting. So not bad at all. And then Danny Wolf, we held him to 8 points. I mean, that's your leading scorer, basically, I believe, for this team. Absolutely destroyed us. You guys already brought it up. He killed us in the Kohl Center. I couldn't be more proud of the defensive effort of this team. I mean, let's be honest, during the regular season, that was something that we were kind of lacking a little bit, right? So when you do get to tournament time, give me that stout defense, at the end of the day. If we can come in prepared for that as we head into the tournament, I will take that all day, any day of the week. So I thought we had an outstanding effort rebounding the ball as well. I have no problem. Unfortunately, at the end, there was that last minute where we just couldn't hang on to the ball. It fell out a couple times and ended up out of bounds, and Michigan got to literally restart their possession like 3 different times, I think. But ultimately, in terms of physicality and whatnot, I think we were right with them in terms of rebounding the ball and not giving up those second chance opportunities that would, in comparison to what we've seen in the past. So in terms of the physicality and defensive part in this game, I don't think you can ask for much more. This college environment, if you're only giving up 59 points in a game, you're doing something right, in my view. So,
yeah.
All right, so Jake, I'll let you go first. The bigs in general in the tournament, how did you feel about the bigs?
I think they did. I think they did a really nice job on defense. I love the defense overall. Like Mike said, I was just smiling all the time because just like I was to you last night. I think Mike was reading off my notebook this time though. I said it felt like at times during the regular season that the defense was lacking because the offense was so overpowered. But the defense has been ratcheting up for the last month plus here. I think they rebounded well. Overall, throughout the tournament, they grabbed 151 rebounds. The opponents grabbed 153. They grabbed 38 offensive rebounds. The opponents grabbed 46. That number is inflated because UCLA grabbed 20 offensive rebounds. We grabbed 113 defensive rebounds, and the opponents grabbed 107. So on average, 38 rebounds for each side, 10 offensive rebounds for the Badgers, 12 for the opponents, 28 defensive rebounds, 26 for the opponents. And even though I thought they rebounded well and they were physical, the second chance points, the Badgers had 47 total second chance points in the 4 games. It's an average of 12 per game. And they gave up 42. It's an average of 10 per game. So, give or take a few decimals here or there. I just went with the solid numbers because I don't give a crap about no decimal points. So overall, grabbing 10 offensive rebounds and scoring 12 points off it isn't too bad, and giving up 12 and giving up 10. I think you're doing yourself a favor by cleaning up the glass and finishing defensive possessions. So overall, I think they did a good job. Nolan Winter, man, he is this goddamn close. And I hope that we get to see that breakthrough in a 6-game stretch here. Because he is this close, I'm telling you. He is a monster.
He is. He really is like a couple skills away from being an absolute problem.
Yeah, but he's got like player of the year written all over him, dude.
He really, really does. Looking at the wings, just over the 4 games, and I understand that, Cody brought it up already. Tanjay had a bad game, disregard his whole year. Disregard the rest of his tournament. I mean, you look at the tournament in general, he had 3 straight, like, really, really good games.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously ran out of gas in the 4th one. But over the tournament, averaged 18.8 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2.25 assists, less than a turnover a game, which was something that came up during the year at a couple times, was turnovers. He shot 47% from the field, 46% from the three-point line, and 85% from the free throw line.
That's filth.
And then John Blackwell quietly averaged 14.5 points a game for the 4 games, averaged over 4 rebounds, almost 2 assists, a little over 2 turnovers. He shot 38.8% from the field, 30.8% from the three-point line, and 80% from the free throw line. My biggest thing, as it has been the whole season, is John Tonje is at his best when he's driving to the basket aggressively. So when we talk about Montana in just a second, that's going to be my biggest thing that I want to see from John Blackwell is get to the basket.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what were your takeaways from the guards on the Big Ten tournament as a whole?
I would say it starts with, getting healthy too and back to your normal lineup, right? I mentioned first in the Northwestern game, it's great to have Max Klesman back. He's clearly one of the catalysts of this team, whether fans like it or not. He kind of stirs the drink in some capacity. He sets up the Johns, to get better shots, get to the bucket, the facilitator. So it definitely starts with him. I thought, Kamari McGee coming off of the Penn State game and even the Oregon game when he started, it wasn't the greatest outing. Now that he's back in that 6-man role, I thought he got his groove back specifically against UCLA and even Northwestern. He had 8 points against Northwestern. He had 14 against UCLA. And, he still there's no issue with him getting, 20 to 25 minutes a game now. Now that we're fully healthy, I think we're back to our, I guess you could say, normal rotation with this team. And I think, with the exception of the Michigan game, obviously, I think the Badgers are really in a good spot. The guard play, I think, is in a really good spot right now with those rotations. Klesman, I know he still didn't have the best shooting day against Michigan, but he still dropped 12. He found a way to get 12 points against that stingy ass defense of Michigan. So, just making sure that, that Klesman's out on the floor, he's still creating that threat that I was talking about earlier that's going to open up the Johns, for example, or even Nolan Winter on a given day. I feel like we are in a good spot overall going into the tournament from a health perspective and just getting our guys, back to, what they do best, right? Assist. It's primarily with Kles and even Kamari McGee and getting to the right spots too, right? Mm-hmm. We saw it again with Kamari McGee. He had a couple corner threes for us in that Big Ten tournament. I mean, every time he shoots from the corner, I think that's automatic every single time, it's beautiful to watch, man. Every time that goes up and it's in the corner, he's shooting from the corner, that's cash money for sure. So he's come such a long way, Kamari McGee, this year. I couldn't be more proud of him, wearing a Badger uniform, to be quite honest. You think about that guy's journey, from GB, for a year to, being at Wisconsin 2 years prior to this and hardly really sniffing the floor, if we're going to be honest. Until last year, he got maybe 10 to 15 minutes a game, but the progression has been insane. You just look at his body, right? He just absolute brick shithouse right now. And you can tell he's been putting that work in, right? So I wish he was all Big Ten defense this year. Unfortunately, he didn't get the nod. I believe that was one of my not expectations, my bold predictions this year, but he had an incredible year overall. I don't mean to rant about him, but no, I think the guard play is in a good spot going into the tournament. Now that we're healthy, we got our normal rotation back. We're going to need Jack Janicki, I think, at some point too. And with the team that we're now going to be playing specifically tomorrow that has a smaller lineup, I think it's going to be all hands on deck from the guards in this game, which we're going to be talking about here now.
Yeah. So Montana, to the point that you're making, they don't have a single player taller than 6'8".
No, they don't.
So my thing for the Badgers is get the ball in the restricted circle as many times as humanly possible in as many different ways as humanly possible.
Yep.
Whether it's off the dribble, off the pass, post-ups, backdoor cuts, like any ways that you can get into the restricted area, into the paint, do so. Because they don't have the bigs that other teams have had that have been the Badgers' weakness.
Yeah.
So, Jake, I'll go to you. What are you looking for from the Badgers to play Montana tomorrow?
Well, first and foremost, I wrote down a few stats for team comparison here. I got net rating, record versus top 25, strength of schedule, points a game, and opponent points per game real quick for you. So Badgers net rating, 15th. That's pretty goddamn good. Montana, 143rd. It's not high.
That gets wider in Ken Palm. In Ken Palm, Wisconsin is 13, and Montana is 161.
Yep. Record versus top 25, Badgers are 3-3. Montana, 0-1. Strength of schedule, Badgers 35th, Montana 186th. Points a game, Badgers are averaging 79.7, Montana 76.9. Opponent points per game, Badgers 70.4. So they've been ticking that down. They've been turning up the defense. I appreciate that. And opponent points per game for Montana 72.9. I wrote down what I want from each post player, just a little quick couple sentences on each of them. For Crowell, I want him to continue to stay aggressive. I want him to use his scoring to set up his playmaking. He's done a really nice job remaining patient and accepting double teams and then playing off of that. So please continue to try to score, especially against a team that doesn't have a guy over 6'8". We're going to say that a couple of times about this matchup.
Yeah.
Nolan Winter, in my opinion, is the second most important player to the Badgers if they are going to make a run. Tyler, I gave you a spoiler. I said this to you on the phone when I was on the way home from work today. We know we're getting from John Blackwell. In my opinion, when you look at totality of a player, John Blackwell is the best all-around player on this Badgers team. John Tonje is going to put up the points. He's going to have the cool stats. That's fine. I think Blackwell, all-around defense, playmaking, driving to the rim, he's had to accept a role that he was not fit for coming into this year, and he's done a very nice job blossoming into that role, we don't really have a true point guard on this team. He's done a nice job of that. Yeah. So Nolan Winter, his ability to attack off the bounce, shoot threes, we're going to need everything that he has. He's going to have to unleash the entire Louis bag on this tournament. Xavier Amos, capitalize on your opportunities, man. I know that you don't get a ton of minutes per game, but when you come in and you play with physical defense, which he's done at times this year, he's gotten better. And when you can make a couple 3-pointers, I think Xavier Amos, he could be a guy that could be a little sneaky in some of these games, in my opinion. And Carter Gilmore, my guy, just keep having fun, dude. Like, you out there with your energy, the smile is infectious. When he's hitting threes and he's going crazy and then he starts smiling, it gets me smiling on my couch. So just keep having fun. Keep being a timely shot maker. We know you're going to compete on defense. So Carter Gilmore, man, keep doing your thing. I appreciate everything that you've done for this program. Post players are going to have to be huge. I will say, though, I always think that the tournament, and maybe this is wrong of me, I always think that the best teams in the tournament have the best guard play. So that's just for me personally. We don't really have a dominant big man, but I think that Crowell and Winter could be that this first game.
Steve said maybe Johnny Blackwell make an all-conference team some year. Yeah, we'll see. If him and Winter both stick around next year, they could be a very, very dynamic duo. Like I said, with John Blackwell, I've said it like 20 times this year. He's so damn good when he's aggressive going to the basket. And there was even a couple drives in the Michigan game where he showed off a little bit of speed as he was driving, which was impressive. As for Tonje, there was a point where Michigan took a 53-51 lead late in the game, and John Tonje came down and he took a three. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with that shot for Tonje. Obviously, the hate part of it is you think the Badgers can get a better shot than a pull-up three from Tonje off the dribble. But the love part of it stems from having the confidence to take that shot to begin with. So I just want to see Tonje play confident. Same with the end of the Michigan State game, to miss 2 free throws, but to have the mental toughness to stay locked in and make the game-saving play to knock the ball out of the hand. That's tough. That's tough to do. To essentially make 2 mistakes in a row by missing 2 free throws and then just completely forget about it and have the what Kobe Bryant used to say is the next play mentality.
It's fair.
So, Mike, what are you looking for? Badgers, Montana tomorrow.
Man, I think there's a lot of dudes that can eat for us in this game. I guess I guess I'll start with Montana. So they got 6 guys that basically average, close to 10 points a game at least. Their highest leading score is actually the 6th man. The guy's name is Money Williams. He's a solid guard. But these guys will get out in transition quite a bit, but they're not overly athletic at all, and they're going to shoot a lot of threes. So I think we will end up playing a lot of small ball. I'm very curious to see how long they're going to keep Nolan Winter and Stephen Carl in the same lineup together. I don't foresee it being too long.
It's been 2 minutes in a lot of games.
I think that's going to be the same case for this game because I think you got guys like Gilmore and Amos that are going to actually probably get a little more time this game. I'm going to go out there and guess just to match up with what they like to do. It's a lot of 4-out, 1 and stuff, and a lot of guys will, shoot threes for them. So, but not overly athletic, and that's where I go back to the offensive side. I honestly think John Blackwell and John Tonje could have career days against this team. I think, and just getting to the free throw line. That's why just blowing past, what John Tonje does, how he'll drive baseline. Heck, John Blackwell will too, right? They're specialists at that. I think both of those guys could easily get to the free throw line 10 times each. Sure. I think our athleticism kind of blows them out of the water. Just a lot of 5-out-1 and a lot of guys that will jack up threes for them. And to be fair, they do make them. I believe they shoot close around the 30% range overall as a team this year. A little above that, I think. But in terms of athleticism, in terms of getting to the bucket, I think this could be a track meet to start, but I think we're going to score 85 to 90 points in this game and not blink.
Yeah. One thing I don't think that we mentioned as far as the tournament is beginning, Brennan said Blackwell almost goes baseline too much.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention with the Big Ten tournament in general is if you look at kind of where Joe Lunardi had the Badgers projected on Saturday, they were projected as a 4 seed going into that Michigan State game. So I think beating UCLA and Michigan State, I think that bumps the Badgers from a 4 to a 3.
Also, I'm going to say it. Fuck Iowa State for not talking about their best player being hurt because we could be playing in Milwaukee this weekend, those son of a bees.
Even Kentucky's resume, in my view, is not as good as ours either.
What? Kentucky?
I get it that the NC they love the SEC this year, 14 bids, whatever. But I don't know. You look at their resume, I don't think it's better than ours or anything like that. But that's me. I could be biased as hell. But yeah, Jake, to your point, that was awful too. The fact that literally comes out right after the selection, on Twitter, then it's like one of their best players is out.
I think it's their best player. It's their point guard, right? Or their shooting guard.
Yes.
Forget
his name.
I don't remember his name.
So the Badgers, they do benefit by getting an easier matchup against Montana. The other 2 matchups that they potentially could have had would have been the winner of the play-in game, the North Carolina one, or Ole Miss. Both definitely better teams than Montana. But the Badgers get kind of a tough draw in the second round if they do advance tomorrow. On Saturday, they would play the winner of BYU and VCU, 2 very kind of sleeper teams.
Please BYU.
In the March Madness tournament. So
please BYU. Please.
I would rather play BYU than VCU, but either one of those teams would be tough.
Yeah. BYU beat Iowa State twice, and they beat Arizona.
BYU's built like us. They got 1-star guy who scores all the points.
A lot of threes. Yeah, similar to kind of
we do in a way. Like us. I think we could beat them though.
Yeah. So very interesting stuff coming up this weekend. Starting tomorrow with the March Madness tournament officially kicking off. Now that the playing games end tonight. So Mike, we will have you back next week. Hopefully, we're talking about preparing for another weekend of basketball.
Yes, sir, fellas. Let's get it. All right. Get 2 dubs this weekend.
2 dubs.
Yes. On Wisconsin.
All right. See you next week.
Yep. Later.
All right. So now that we are done with the Badgers, you and I have a handful of Bucks games to talk about. We got 2 wins, 2 losses. Starting with the Lakers from last Thursday. What stood out to you from that one?
First thing I'm going to say is Luka Doncic was fucking unconscious in the first
half.
half.
He was going crazy. And I think it's like one of those things where it's like, all right, we got no LeBron. I got this.
Dude, when
like,
he
hey, everybody hop on. Everybody
he
jump
hit
on my
that
back.
3-pointer where he was stuck in the corner and we doubled him, and then they had to pass it back out, and he got it back in the corner, and he almost went out of bounds. He didn't have any room, and he ends up going into a triple threat and doing a step back, a 3-pointer on one leg. I was like, oh, hell
yeah,
no.
that was some bullshit, dude.
I was like, he is in another universe right now compared to shooting the ball and scoring.
Yep.
That
leave him open at that point.
That hoop was 12 feet wide for him, dude. It was huge.
Yeah, that's just one of those times where, like, you just throw the ball at the rim and it feels like it's going in every time.
Yeah, he was unconscious. Reeves also had 28 for them. So
he's getting good. Austin Reeves is getting good.
They're a little bit overrating him, calling him the best third option in the league.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes on that. But he's more than a role player.
Yeah, he's definitely gaining more respect. I'll say that. Giannis had a pretty decent game in this one, 24 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. I saw somebody say, why didn't Doc leave him in to get the triple-double? He did. Giannis took a pull-up jump shot to get to 24. So at that point, you just pull him out because we don't need him to be hurt going into the playoffs. That's the most important thing. Brook Lopez with another dominant game, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 downtown. He was tremendous. And Kevin Porter Jr., man, he was fun. There was the 1 3-pointer where the ball was kind of bouncing all over the ground. Giannis had a dive on the ground and it squirts through somebody's legs on the Lakers. I don't remember who it was. Maybe Dorian Finney-Smith. But and Kevin Porter gets the ball in the corner and just laces it. And I was like, yeah. That was the moment in that game. That was in the third quarter. I was like, Bucks are not losing this game. They're winning this game. Giannis was tremendous in the third quarter. Bucks went on a 24-7 run. The score was 76-70 Milwaukee. Giannis scored 10 of the 24 and pushed the lead from 76-70 to 100-77. Yeah, that was about a 4.5-minute run there. So bench points, I know I talked about that a bunch last week. The bench was tremendous in this game, scoring 45 points. The Lakers bench only scored 20, obviously having some injuries, pushed some guys up in their rotation. That's happened to us this year as well. Nobody was crying for us when it happened to us, so I'm not going to cry for the Lakers when it happens to them. So good job taking advantage by the Bucks. They win this one by 20, kind of cruise control.
Yeah, so you mentioned Kevin Porter Jr. I just wanted to bring up with him, he scored 16 of his 22 points in the second and third quarters.
Yeah.
So we've called him, thanks to Taylor, who watches our show, fourth quarter Porter, but a majority of his points came in this game in the middle of 2 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and looked for Kevin Porter Jr. and Damian Lillard lineups. Something that I seen a lot of fans were clamoring for was to move Dame to shooting guard, which is never going to happen, but to play Kevin Porter Jr. and Dame together. And it's essentially putting like a 2-point guard lineup in through the Lakers game. So this ends last Thursday. I didn't update this to go through the games that happened from this game on. There were 41 minutes together of those two. And a few things to me stood out with these two playing together. The Bucks had a 97.8 offensive rating, which essentially means 98 points per 100 possessions is what the Bucks would score with those two on the floor in 2-man lineups, which is not great.
Mm-hmm.
However, they did have a 74.2% assist percentage, which is very high.
Interesting.
Now, to me, this tells me that when Kevin Porter Jr. and Damian Lillard are on the floor together, that the Bucks are moving the ball well, but they have to figure out how to run offense with 2-point guards on the floor.
Yeah.
74.2% is the highest assist percentage of 2-man combo lineups for the Bucks. The next is 66.3 with Dame and Gary Trent Jr. So almost 8% higher assist percentage with 2-point guards on the floor. That is also the highest assist percentage of 2-man lineups by almost 5% on the team. So looking at the defensive rating when those two are on the floor together, 101.1. So that's clamps. So there's some opportunity there, at least defensively. And I'm going to talk some more about some other lineups when we get into last night's game. But the other thing with Dame and Kevin Porter Jr. on the floor together, it is also the second highest pace that the Bucks have in two-man lineups. So any combination of those two plus three other players, the Bucks pace ticks up when they have both of those guys in at the same time. Now, first game after last Wednesday's show, when I said Brook Lopez isn't going to average 23 and 7, he puts up 23, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and a steal. So it's like, okay, all right, my bad. The Bucks actually have 4 players with 20-plus points. So Giannis, Dame, Brook, Kevin Porter Jr., and 30 assists on 41 made field goals. That rocks. We talked about it last week that the ball movement was kind of lacking a little bit. This game, it definitely ticked back up. Now, only 11 turnovers. That is good. And only 9 points off turnovers allowed. That is beautiful. And then as a team, the Bucks shot 17 of 40 from the three-point line. That's 42.5%. That's perfect. I think that 40 mark is right around where I would love to see the Bucks shooting. And if they can hit somewhere between 15 and 17, that's the sweet spot.
I agree. I think somewhere between like 37 to 42 is kind of where I would like to live for the Bucks.
Yeah. And you mentioned Kevin Porter Jr. He was super hot. 5 for 7. GTJ was 4 for 9. Brook was 3 for 4. Steve said Brook can't average 35 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks. You're right, he can't, but he might be able to do it once.
Man, if he did that, oh boy, there'd be a lot of apologies needed to be handed out.
Yeah, but I mean, shit, I'll take 23, 4, 5, 4, and 1.
Yeah, me too.
That's a stat stuffing game. The 5 assists and 4 blocks is wild.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's go to Bucks Pacers. Definitely the most fun game of the week from Saturday. What stood out to you from Bucks Pacers?
Yeah, so Giannis obviously was just crazy efficient in this game, going 14 and 19 from the field. He was getting whatever he wanted. There is 0 people on the Pacers that could guard him.
He literally owns them.
Dude, his averages versus the Pacers the last 5 years is fucking disgusting.
I have his numbers from just this year.
Yeah, disgusting. Giannis should have 36 points in this game. You cannot call that charge. I don't care what your name is as referee.
All right.
You cannot call that charge.
Here's the thing. First of all, don't call it. Like, you want people to watch your games. Don't take away highlight plays for dumb fucking fouls. Yeah. Second of all, Kevin Love has been talking about this for like 3 fucking years. Get that play out of the game. Seriously. Stop rewarding players for sliding under guys as they are already gathered and about to jump in the air or already in the air. Stop rewarding them by calling charges on that shit. That's how people get hurt.
Yep.
Get that play out of the game.
Yeah. It just can't happen. So I got this stat from Real Sports on X. Most 30, 10, and 5 games in NBA history. Giannis, after this game, moves up to he's still in 4th, but he has 146 total. He is 3 away from tying Wilt Chamberlain. He's 9 away from tying Oscar Robertson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Crazy that Oscar is up that high. That's absolutely insane. But 3 Bucks in the top 4 on that list. So good for them. But Giannis is definitely going to pass all of them in that stat. So congrats to Giannis on that. He's going to be the leader in that. That's an impressive stat line. He also does it at a crazy efficiency rate. Damian Lillard also had a very good game in this one. He had 25 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. He was absolutely lights out all over the floor. Brook Lopez didn't have to do much, but he scored 10 on 5 shot attempts, so good for him. Taurean Prince was good, driving to the rim. Kuzma didn't make a 3, but he didn't have to because everybody else was making 3s. I'm talking about Gary Trent Jr. making 2 of them, or 3 of them. AJ Green actually made 2 of them. Kevin Porter Jr. made 1. He was good, 16, 6, and 4, stuff in the stat sheet. So the Milwaukee bench outscored the Indiana bench 35-18. And there are 2 players on Indiana. did not write it down, but I'm going to get it up here in a second. There's one that's been a thorn in our side. TJ McConnell. He was minus 34 in this game, and Matherin was also minus 34 in this game.
Oh.
They had two players that were minus 34. Shepard was minus 19. Thomas Bryant was minus 14, and Obi Toppin was minus 2. Literally nobody on their bench was a positive player in this game.
Let Obi Toppin shoot all the threes he wants.
Yeah, but then he has the game against the Timberwolves where he makes 4 threes in overtime a couple days later. I mean, that's just the way it goes, I guess. But yeah, I would let him shoot too, because you don't want him driving to the rim because he can absolutely jump out of the gym. Yep. But I love seeing McConnell struggle versus the Bucks. I love seeing Matherin, who talks out of the side of his face all the time, struggle versus the Bucks. Yeah, I was super pissed about that charge. A late run from Indy made this game a lot closer than it was, but the Bucks really kind of beat their ass in this game, to be honest with you.
Steve brought up no hard closeouts on threes, though. The thing with that is I understand why they made that flagrant, is because you don't want guys rolling ankles on shots that they go up and down on. So that's good. That's a good thing that they did. Apply the same logic to guys who are jumping towards the rim. Like, you shouldn't be able to slide under somebody. It's the same as shooting the three.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't let them slide under.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yeah, I stop rewarding them for doing it, and they'll stop doing it.
Yep.
Because that contributed. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly your point. Yeah, that's the same thing. Stop letting people slide under guys who are going up with the ball. So because of that added to Giannis's foul totals, thanks to really bad fourth quarter officiating. And the sixth foul was initiated by Nembhard. Nembhard initiated the contact on Giannis's sixth foul.
Yeah.
Which is super annoying. But the Pacers cut the lead to 11 shortly after that quote-unquote charge by Giannis. After that, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, Giannis fouled out. Pacers had cut the lead to 6. Taurean Prince hits a huge three.
Yeah.
Strips Siakam, gets on the floor to force a jump ball, makes 4 clutch free throws, and then Kevin Porter Jr. added 2 more. So Taurean Prince scored 7 really, really clutch points in this game. He is not coming off the floor in any important situations.
No.
Bucks were 15 to 37 on threes, 40.5%. That's beautiful. Dame was 6 of 12. That's awesome. Taurean Prince was 2 for 4. Gary Trent Jr. was 3 for 6. Taurean Prince also added a career high 5 steals. Love to see that. The Bucks did have 15 turnovers. 3 of them came on offensive fouls. 2 of them were flopped to get the calls. As far as points off turnovers, they allowed 26, which is very efficient on the Pacers part of it. The Bucks just had the offense to counter the pace. That's an important thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Other thing is free throws. So I just brought up Taurean Prince and Kevin Porter Jr. making their free throws at the end of the game. The Bucks were 25 of 26 on free throws against the Pacers. The Pacers were 10 of 13. And the only missed free throw came from AJ Green, of all people.
Yeah, right?
It's like, okay, yep, here we go. Our second best shooter missing free throws. All right, whatever. It is what it is, I guess. But the numbers for the Bucks, who won the season series against the Pacers 3-1, Giannis in those 4 games, 30 points on 64.9% shooting, 12.3 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.3 blocks.
Jesus.
He averages 30, 12, 7.5, and about a block and a half and a steal and a half per game against the Pacers.
You know the Pacers.
They do not want that smoke in the playoffs.
Dude, healthy Giannis, we're beating them in 5. I know we talk about this all the time. We're beating them in 5.
I strongly agree. Like that Bucks-Pacers series last year, Middleton was carrying by himself. If Giannis is available in that series, the Bucks win that series.
Yeah.
They have nobody for him. So let's go to Sunday. This is super annoying. So 2 weeks in a row, the Bucks get to play a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back against the 1 seed from a conference.
Yeah, God. I'm going to say my opening line. It's not going to be nice to the Bucks. The Thunder played some amazing defense. They're the youngest team in the league. Obviously, they have such an ability to just switch everything. The Bucks offense in the second quarter was struggling to breathe, and the Thunder literally just cut off the air supply. Like they just said, you're not getting anything. And then on top of that, the Bucks not getting any flow, Oklahoma City was taking that and getting downhill and getting into the paint, finishing everything. Hartenstein, credit to him, he has absolutely perfected that little jump floater.
He's got floater game for days.
He might have the best floater game that nobody talks about.
Legitimately might. Like he's probably between like Trae Young is definitely up there.
Yeah.
And Brunson's got floater game, but he's definitely the best big man floater game in the NBA by a lot.
He legit might be top 3, bro. He is. That's his way of scoring. That or drop offs for layups, dude.
True.
That's what he's good at. Chet Holmgren, another really young, talented player. So they got an amazing post game over there. They paid the money for Hartenstein, obviously, but Chet Holmgren will get his money soon enough. But the Thunder are just an amazingly young, talented team. They're going to be set up to be successful for the next 20 years, dude, with all the draft picks that they have.
Yeah.
And Shea, being the MVP this year. Giannis did have a triple-double for the second time versus the Thunder. Only one of them counts. Dame, he didn't really – they were just doubling everything. They were doubling Dame, doubling Giannis. They weren't letting us get into our actions. I feel like the offense was really, really stagnant at points. I know you see the 21 assists on 33 shots made, but it just felt like the offense was stagnant, and it was a lot of forced shots. Now, AJ Green made 2 threes. Kevin Porter Jr. made 3. And Gary Trent Jr. made 3 of his 9, so he shot 33%. This was also the day that we found out that Sims hurt his thumb versus Indiana, and he had it all taped up, and he had to get surgery afterwards. So that was not great news. So it was kind of a dark day for the Bucks, but overall the offense just wasn't good enough. I felt like the flow got shut off in the second quarter. Third quarter didn't get any better, and then obviously the fourth quarter is just kind of a walkthrough at that point, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah. The 3-point shooting was okay, I guess. They were 13 of 34. Dame was 2 for 4 on threes, which is obviously it's a good percentage. It's 50%. And you brought up not being able to get him more looks. We just had a game where he took 12 threes, and the next game he take 4. That is a credit to Oklahoma City's defense to take that part of the Bucks game away from them. And Steve said it's a beautiful thing to see Oklahoma City's defense. I wish more teams prided themselves on that end of the court. The old adage that defense wins championships, it's a good one. It's a popular phrase for a reason. I will say good offense beats good defense every time. I say that a lot as well.
Bro, they didn't even have
the Bucks
Dort.
Needed.
They didn't even have their best overall perimeter defender.
Yeah.
They were doing this to the Bucks, so that's insane. Their defense is crazy. They're going to the finals. They're going to the finals.
This sounds weird and feels gross to say, but I think the Lakers could beat them in a 7-game series.
Really? That would be a really, really good.
That would be a fantastic series. Like, as not a fan of either team, I would watch that.
If LeBron has the legs, it would be good. If LeBron's legs give out and it's kind of just Luka out there with Austin Reeves, that'd be a different story. But
that would be
if LeBron has the legs, I can definitely see that happening, sadly. But
that series would probably go 7.
It would.
I already mentioned the 2 Sundays in a row we're playing a 1 seed on a back-to-back. Thanks, NBA. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Can we just get rid of back-to-backs? It's stupid.
Yeah, seriously.
There's none in the playoffs. There's such a long season. There has to be a way that you can figure out to make it at least every other day.
The only way I want a back-to-back is if you have to reschedule games like they had to with
right. That's kind of an extenuating circumstance.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've said is to make them like series if you're going to do that.
Yeah, and I would love that too.
If you have to do a back-to-back, make it the same team twice in a row. so that you're both playing back-to-back in the same city against the same team to level the playing field a bit. Now, the Thunder were on a back-to-back too, but they didn't go from playing the Pacers to the Thunder. They were playing
Detroit,
that's who it was. And then playing the Bucks. So they were playing a 6 and then a 4 seed, where the Bucks were playing the 5 and then the 1.
Yeah.
Bucks were 13 of 34 on the bench from the field. And if you take out the reserves from the last couple minutes of the game, the bench was 10 of 27.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm glad you like that idea. Steve likes my ideas. Steve's my hype man. The Thunder, they do have a younger bench. Their bench was 14 of 27. So, like, not a ton better, but still better. The thing, if you look at it, the points in the paint were a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Bucks normally average 43. That's number 28 because the Bucks have Giannis and shooters. Like, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
The Thunder allow 42.7. That's number 1 in the NBA. So the Bucks kind of just right there with that. The Thunder normally average 50 points in the paint. The Bucks normally allow 47, which is number 7 in the NBA. The Thunder had 60 points in the paint. Bucks had 30.
Yep.
So getting doubled up in the paint is tough. The night after, they went 25 for 26 at the free throw line. The next night, they went 26 of 33. Back-to-backs. And you have to play the number 1 seed again. I'm just going to keep saying the same thing. There's no back-to-backs in the playoffs, and you just kind of have to take that for what it is and move on, I guess.
Yep.
All right, let's go to last night's game. Now, I know right away you see no Curry and you think no problem, but the Warriors, they've been a better team since getting Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. The first main takeaway I thought of is now he made like a shitty play last night, which was not a basketball play, and I thought should have been a flagrant too. But Kuminga's a good player. Draymond Green is probably a Hall of Famer, multiple-time champ, very good on defense, very high basketball IQ. You don't be that good on defense and playmaking without having high basketball IQ.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jimmy Butler, obviously, when he's going right, he's one of the best two-way players in the league. So it wasn't like they had nobody out there.
Right.
Obviously, Steph Curry is the one that makes this thing go on a regular basis. And
Right.
Steph Curry is amazing. But it's not like they didn't have anybody out there. And obviously, they were locking in on defense. And it just – here's my opinion on it. I feel like when Doc was the coach of the Clippers – he knew that Chris Paul was one of the best pick-and-roll point guards in the league. And he had a guy in Blake Griffin who was a little bit of a one-trick pony, but he used his one trick to his advantage as much as he possibly could. Why are we not just spamming the Damon Giannis?
I wonder if – okay, hear me out. I wonder if he's kind of saving that for the playoffs. We had this conversation, was it last week or the week before, where they were running it and couldn't be stopped. And I said they're going to get to the playoffs and they're going to run it every single time until their opponent stops it.
Yeah, and they should. And the other one that I also like is I like the two-man game between Brook and Giannis. I feel like they've been getting much better at that the last couple of years. I feel like Brook has done a really nice job of being able to find soft spots, where to cut baseline or cut middle, and make himself available. But something was just off last night. The spacing was a little, off.
Yeah.
Draymond Green did a really nice job on Giannis, but it wasn't like he did it by himself. I saw a couple posts today from like NBA fan pages of like Draymond shut down Giannis. Bro, there was 5 eyes on Giannis at all times. 5 sets of eyes, I should say, on Giannis at every time he had the ball. When Giannis caught the ball, there was 5 people in Warrior jerseys like, we're not going to let that guy score. And Kuzma had a pretty good game last night. He got a little overzealous with the three-pointers, but he was on fire for a little bit there. Bucks did do a nice job forcing 19 turnovers, 10 of them coming in the third quarter, which is absolutely insane. I texted you that last night. I was like, 10 turnovers in a quarter is egregious. Allowed the Bucks to go on a big-time run to get themselves back in this game. But the offense at the end of the game, I'm going to hold off on what I really think needs to happen. I'm going to let you give your takeaways, and we can discuss it.
So you mentioned Draymond and the offense. Giannis was 0 for 7 against Draymond. One of them was a 3-pointer. So take that for what it is. But Giannis did also have 4 assists when guarded by Draymond. Now, this is something I meant to bring up as well during the Thunder game, is the assists in that game. Giannis had 10. The rest of the team had 11. Giannis, when he's getting doubled on the block, his court vision, his passing IQ is very high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to bring up when, like I said, 4 assists when guarded by Draymond last night. The team as a whole, third game in 4 days, flying west, 12 of 36 on threes. Sorry, 12 of 38, 31.6%. I've said it a whole bunch of the season. Their three-point shooting most of the time correlates with the win-loss result. Dame was 2 for 9. You mentioned Kyle Kuzma, 5 of 13. I'll take that. It's 38.5%.
Yeah.
The bench, 1 for 8. That's tough.
That's tough, dude. Jeez.
Only 9 turnovers. That is good. 14 points off those turnovers for the Warriors. That's okay. I can live with that.
Yep.
Now we can just play this into what's next. The offense. So there's 2 things to discuss here, and one of them is a little bit more of a two-way thing, and then we can talk about the offense specifically. Is the Bucks have a tough task without Jericho Sims for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We also have, 7 more games without Bobby?
10.
10? Is it really?
Yeah, because there's 14 games left, and he's going to come back for the final 4. Because there was 29 games when he got to 20. There was 29 when he got to 25 games suspension. Okay. So he'll be back for the final 4. So if there's 14 left, math, 10 left.
All right. I trust you. So the Bucks are in a really tough spot. Now, it shouldn't take a rocket scientist for somebody to tell you that I love Giannis. And I obviously do not mean this in any sort of ill will way when I'm saying this. Giannis is not a center.
No.
He is a power forward. There's nothing wrong with Giannis being a power forward.
Yeah.
Steve, we're definitely counting. Jake's definitely counting.
Dude, I'm a big Bobby guy. If they had Bobby last night, they win.
There's several games where if they had Bobby, I think they'd win. But it's a really tough ask to ask Giannis to be your starting power forward and, your leading scorer, your leading assist usage rate player, third in the MVP voting, and then also go and ask him to be your backup center.
And he was guarding Jimmy Butler last night.
That's a lot to put on a plate, even for a guy like Giannis.
Yeah, it is.
And not to mention that when you're playing against bigs, and yes, I understand that last night the Warriors played small for the most part. I'm talking more in general. Like last night, if you want to make that claim that the Warriors went small so the Bucks can go small, fine. But again, like Jake just said, Giannis is guarding Jimmy Butler in their third game in 4 days, and they flew west. I understand that if they're going to be, in the finals, they're going to have to go west. But people will do anything to get Brooke off the court for whatever reason. Connor, you're going to love the numbers that I'm about to drop. Because I have 5-man lineups that include Giannis at the 5 and 5-man lineups that include Brooke at the 5. Not to mention that we haven't seen Bobby Portis play with Kuzma and Giannis. The one game that Kuzma and Bobby played together, Giannis was unavailable. That was the Hawks game right before the All-Star break. Yeah.
Yep.
And we haven't seen Bobby and Sims play together, and we haven't seen Bobby and Kevin Porter Jr. play together. Really quick, I'm going to jump in on that part of it. I think Kevin Porter Jr. and Bobby Portis on the floor at the same time has potential to have similar energy to how Bobby and Beverly were last year.
Ooh, I like that. I also think Bobby and Sims together could be elite, bro. That could be an elite combo.
That'd be very interesting.
Bobby is a tough guy, and he talks a lot, and Sims does not talk. But Sims has all the athleticism where Bobby has the jump shooting.
Yeah. So Giannis has played 30% of his minutes at center. Now, I took out all of the 5-man lineups that include Pat Connaughton, Ryan Rollins, Andre Jackson Jr., DeLon Wright, and Chris Middleton.
Okay.
I took those out because those guys aren't rotational guys, and obviously 2 of them don't play here anymore.
Yeah.
So looking at, I have 10 5-man lineups that include Giannis at center. So Dame, Kevin Porter Jr., Taurean Prince, Kuzma, and Giannis, those 5 are a -1 together. Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, Kuzma, and Giannis are +1.
Okay.
Giannis, Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, -6.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Dame, AJ Green, Taurean Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, +3.
Okay.
Dame, Giannis, Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Taurean Prince, +1. Dame, Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, -12.
They got to play Giannis at the 5 and Kuzma at the 4. Otherwise, why do you make the trade?
Giannis, Prince, Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, +9. That came in 3 minutes of one game. Dame, Giannis, Kuzma, Gary Trent Jr., and AJ Green, -4.
Yeah.
Dame, Giannis, Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Kevin Porter Jr., +4. Giannis, Taurean Prince, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, +2. So -1, +1, -6, +3, +1, -12, +9, -4, +4, +2. We're not having huge lineups here.
Yeah.
Now, let's go and put Brook Lopez in at the center position. So the starting lineup, which is Dame, Taurean Prince, Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook, +20.
Jesus.
Dame, Gary Trent Jr., Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook, +7.
Okay.
Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, Giannis, and Brook, +5.
Okay.
Dame, AJ Green, Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook, +19.
Really?
Dame, AJ Green, Gary Trent Jr., Giannis, and Brook, +17.
I like that lineup, actually. If AJ Green finds his touch from outside again.
Then you're going to love this. Because Dame, AJ Green, Kyle Kuzma, Giannis, and Brook together are +36.
Yeah, dude. If he becomes the Dairy Bird again, that's a legit lineup right there.
So I just gave you 16 5-man lineup combinations, and 6 of the top 7 have Brook Lopez and Giannis together.
Yeah, it works. I've seen it work with my own eyes.
I can't make it any clearer that this team is better with Brook Lopez and what he brings to the team.
Yeah.
And Giannis at the 5, like overall, that's even -6. That makes -3, -2, -14, -5, -9. So they're all of those lineups together are still a net -2. Those 10 lineups that I gave.
Yeah.
If I add up the 6, just the 6 that I gave you with Giannis and Brook together, you're looking at like +100.
Yeah, because you had a +30, a +20, a plus.
That's 63. That's 80. Would be 104.
Yeah.
6 lineups with Giannis and Brook together make +104, with 10 lineups that include Giannis at center make -2.
Not rocket science.
It's really not. And I understand that, Giannis doesn't play a ton of minutes at the center position, but again, 10 lineups compared to 6. Like, I don't know how much easier I can make this.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that Giannis isn't capable of doing it. It's just the Bucks are a better team when he's playing the 4 where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're talking about putting guys in positions to succeed. Giannis is at his best when he's playing the 4.
He is.
The Bucks offensively and defensively are better when Giannis is at the 4. Like you said, it's not hard. It's not rocket science.
No.
So let's move to the last thing, which is the offense. Now, it was a report today that Doc pulled Giannis and Dame into a meeting after the loss to the Warriors last night to get their input on improving the offense, which I like that he's doing. Obviously, if you have two superstars, you want their input, and I like the fact that Doc is, giving them, a proverbial microphone to give their thoughts on what they can do. Maybe it is spam the pick and roll.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, which is fine.
Yeah.
But just giving them the opportunity to express what they see on the floor and, what they want with the last 14 games of the season coming here. I'll let you give your thoughts. Like, what are you looking for from the Bucks offense? They have 3 games in the next week. They're still on the West Coast road trip. They're at LA. They're at Sacramento on Saturday, and they're at Phoenix on Monday. So going forward, what are you looking for from the offense for the Bucks to help them score more than 93 points?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of the offense in today's NBA happens with dribble handoffs, which when people are breaking down plays, like basketball plays, the DHO means dribble handoff. A lot of dribble handoff from Giannis to Dame. So I'm going to need, and this is going to sound crazy, I'm going to need a little bit more of pick and roll with Dame and Brook at the top, because Brook sets such good screens.
Yes.
And frees up Dame to get into the paint. I don't care what anybody says. You can shoot all the threes that you want. You have to break down the defense from the inside out first. And Dame can get downhill, and he can break it down 2 ways. He can break it down and get to the rim and finish, or he can break it down and you can foul him, and he can go to the free throw line with his 92% free throw percentage and give you 2 points every single time. So I want a little bit more of pick and roll with Brook and Dame to get Dame going early. I would love more of that a little bit early. Giannis can get his whenever the fuck he wants.
Yep.
Giannis is just give him the goddamn ball and let him do his thing. Now, obviously, we're going to need to run more Dame and Giannis pick and roll as well, but the ball needs to be in Dame's hands. I love Giannis playmaking, but we didn't bring Dame in to stand there on the three-point line.
Yeah.
We're not paying him $55 million to stand there on the free throw line. We brought him in to be Damian fucking Lillard, dude.
Yeah.
Give him the damn ball, a little bit more pick and roll with Brook, and I would like some backside action, and this might be a way to get AJ Green going, but man, let him touch the ball early going to the rim off a cut, off a back screen from Giannis, or something like that. I would like a little bit more action for AJ Green, because Gary Trent Jr., he's a gamer. He's a dog. He's been in the league for a while. We know what we're going to get from Gary Trent Jr. Kevin Porter Jr., he's a bench player for a reason. He's been fun. He's had moments, but he's a bench player. We cannot expect him to score 15 to 17 every single game.
Right.
He's gonna have some 2-point games. It is what it is.
Yeah. I think 10 to 12 is fine.
Yeah. Kuzma, my God. If I see people are talking so much trash about him right now, about, it's okay that he shoots bad because he plays good defense, and they're sharing the one clip of him having a mental lapse on defense yesterday. It's like, dude, I could show you 100 clips of him clamping people. Obviously, I have kids and a full-time job, so I cannot do that. But I would love to be able to do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Prince is going to do his thing. But really the main thing that we need to do, Zero needs to have the ball. More than he already does. If that's taking usage away from Giannis, that's fine, because Giannis has a lot on his plate, like you said, right now. But Dame needs the damn ball in his hands, and he needs to be in a goddamn attack mode.
Yeah.
Not trying. He'll set up the team. He's a point guard. Everybody thinks of Damian Lillard, thinks of him shooting threes and buzzer beaters. Dame is actually a very good traditional point guard. He's a very good playmaker.
Yeah.
Zero needs the ball more. That's how I feel.
So one thing that I'm thinking of is if we're talking specifically the X's and O's of it, is I'd almost like to see the Bucks run a little bit how the Badgers do, of entering the ball to one side, and whether it's Dame initiating this and then dipping, cutting down the lane, then filling to the corner, and having Brooks setting a off ball screen for Damian Lillard. Like, watch how the Warriors use Steph Curry That dude's fucking running everywhere.
Yeah.
Curry probably runs a marathon every game because he's constantly moving.
That's how you get the 4,000 threes.
And I'm going to be just inserting myself for a second, but if I had to guard that, like, I'm quitting. Like, fuck that. I'm not chasing him around. No, switch. Somebody switch with me. I'm not chasing him around like that.
Right.
That'd be a pain in the ass. That would suck. So get Dame moving around like that.
Yeah.
Make people chase him around. And, have Brook be an obstacle in between while they're chasing him around everywhere.
Yeah, I like that.
So maybe using Dame off the ball a little bit. And the thing is, if you can have a guy like Brook setting him screens, it's going to do a couple things. First, it's going to take Brook's man off of him, which can then open up dives to the basket for Brook. If Brook's man sags, that should open up an opportunity for Dame because his guy's not going under. You're not going under screens on Damian Lillard. If you do, he's just going to stop and then be wide open for three.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to open up a curl opportunity, and you have Dame with a big man in front of him, which is just either going to be just a stop and pop mid-range, or if the big man steps up, Dame's going right by.
Mm-hmm.
So there's opportunities out of that. And then the last thing is if Dame gets doubled coming off of the ball screen, you just pick and pop, and Brook gets an open three.
Yeah.
So that's maybe something that I would look at. Obviously, I'm not an NBA coach. I'm just a dude with a podcast. But, again, I think Jake and I know what we're talking about.
I'm just going to piggyback real quick. I like your idea of getting Dame moving because that forces action, that forces energy into the offense where every once in a while it is just give Dame the ball and set a screen with Giannis and then see if they can create something because they're both ultra talented. I like the idea of kind of, having him come off of something, create some backside action off of that. Brook, like I said, has been really good at either diving to the basket or he can hit a corner three. He doesn't shoot a lot of them.
Yeah.
But if he sets a screen for Dame who wants to come up to the top of the key, and Brook can either go to the wing or fill down low or float to the corner. I like the idea of that a lot. Brook Lopez is a vital key to this team, and people just do not respect him enough. I think when Bobby comes back too, that'll be another guy that can really, really add some offensive punch to this team that they obviously need. He'll bring a lot of energy into the forum.
Connor, we don't, but it's just one of those things where we just didn't really have the time to be able to keep doing more and just having a couple people interested in it. It's something we would like to do again in the future. It's just something we kind of can't really justify at this time. As for other ways to support, I mean, obviously keep sharing, telling people about it, sending more people our way. If you go to the Wisco Ball website, you can get Wisco Fanatics shirts and hoodies and rock that. Just keep telling people about us so we can keep growing and reaching more people. We will have next week another draft series show. So we're going to have our offensive lineman conversation coming up next week, which again, we said this last night. It's not a sexy position group to talk about, but it's a necessary one and one that the Packers are always going to be invested in. So we are going to be invested in. And then Jake and I will have hopefully 2 Badger games and some preview coming up on the basketball side, as well as 3 more Bucks games. And continue to keep an eye out on the page. We are publishing more on Facebook and Instagram of our Brewers stat projection reviews, and also putting out some more content on the Brewers in general, as the season is now a week and a day away. So more of that coming out. And other than that, anything else you want to throw out there?
The sky's not falling. The Bucks are going to be just fine.
Yeah, we're still almost a month away from the playoffs yet.
Oh yeah, I did actually have one thing I wanted to say. I apologize. If all you're going to do is watch the game and then complain about watching the game, please save everybody time. Shut the fuck up and don't watch the game then.
Don't watch.
I can't believe I'm sacrificing sleep for this. Nobody fucking forced you.
Go to bed.
Don't watch the damn game.
Yep, go to bed.
Sorry. I had to get that off my chest, man. I was holding on to that all damn day.
I'm gonna be honest. I've been like mass leaving Facebook groups, and
Yeah.
I don't miss it at all.
No, I followed you after you were brave enough to say I'm going to do that, and I still like stayed in like I said, the NBA page and the team page, and I like to torture myself apparently because I go to the comment section. It's just like, Jesus, you guys are all miserable, dude.
Yep, and Brewer season starts soon, so we're gonna have even more opportunity to see all that shit. So
Hell yeah, dude.
stay tuned with us for that. We'll see you guys next Tuesday and Wednesday. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you then.